Pura vida. Yes, I am Charlie Simons, your host of Do Not Talk, where we do talk about two things you're never supposed to talk about: religion and politics. I was earlier this year invited to be the master of ceremonies of such a tremendous event. I'm so glad I was there. I'm so glad I was able to do it. I just felt honored and privileged. And the people I got to meet, they were extraordinary. And I listened to Glenn Beck on the radio, and in the area where I live in Northern California, we got a station here that airs him. And I've heard him many times say, find your people, move to where your people are. Because when all hell breaks loose, and if you're a follower of Christ Jesus and you actually read God's word, you know that's going to happen. You know it's coming. And the word tells us again and again, do not forsake the gathering of yourselves together. Do not be afraid. Don't try and fight this alone. This is not a battle against physical things, but against spiritual things. And it's very clear on that. So I hope you're finding yourself a body of believers. I hope you're finding yourself a church that actually preaches God's word. Not what it. You want me to run away from your church? Put a banner out front saying, this month we're talking about how to apply God to your life in today's world. Oh, you mean make God fit into the mold that I want him to be in? God didn't change. You did, Pastor. And you're leading your flock away from God's word. So find yourself a body of believers. Find your people. That's what I found at this event that I was master of ceremonies of. And it was the statewide California Trump train. And we all started at different areas wherever we were from, northern, central, southern California. And we all came together. And it was in Paso Robles, which is central California near the coast. About 30, 45 minutes over the little mountain range, little hill range, and you're at the ocean. And I met this guy named Hunter Brees. And he's just a kid. And he was running for office. And the more he actually went up and spoke. I introduced him, brought him up on stage. And then I got to talk to him afterwards. And I thought, he is for real. I'll be darned. He's not faking this. He's for real. 20 years old. I think he just turned 20. He was 19 at the time. Running for office. Solid conservative, solid believer and follower of Christ Jesus. I look back on my life, what I was doing when I was 20. It wasn't that. It was not that. I was a train wreck. So I invited him to be on the show, and I'm glad he's going to be today here on Do Not Talk. Brought to you by MyPillow. MyPillow.com/Lee, Lee. My middle name can get you up to 75% off American-made products, over 100 products now at his online store. Mike Lindell, true patriot, has put it all on the line and has been attacked, including the FBI, taking away his cell phone like a surprise attack. Having lunch with some friends. Took his cell phone. As far as I know, he still has not gotten it back. Over what? What was the big problem with Mike Lindell? Oh, I know. He questioned the election of 2020. They have tried to ruin him for the past 4 years. All the big corporations, as if they'd been told to, pulled all of his products off their shelves, including Walmart. Screw you, Walmart. That was the last straw for me. Don't set foot in your crappy ass, big corporate, ridiculous, stupid, most stuff in there made in China store anyway. So go online, check them out, especially now, gift giving time. And it's not too late. You can have a gift mailed. Just go to mypillow.com/LEE, mypillow.com/Lee. See what he's got there. All American made products. Support him while we can. All right, Hunter. I want you to see this, and I want to get your thoughts on this, something I just found recently.
I really would like to know what it's going to take for people to get a clue. Since this president has been in office, we have had allegedly aliens that fall from the sky. We've had to shoot down drones belonging to foreign countries that are our enemy over our territory. We have had fires that have started in northern Canada and southern Canada, simultaneous fires that then plagued us with poison, toxic gas fumes that are upwards of 350 or more percentage meters for months. Then we had a fire in Hawaii, and our president goes down there. He does not attempt to go in front of Congress to clamor for more than $700 of assistance. He hands them pennies and looks the other way and goes back to the Ukraine.
$750.
Oh, speaking of Ukraine, we have war in Ukraine.
Bima.
Speaking of war, we have war in Israel. Boom, there's an environmental crisis that happens with a train derailment in Ohio. Nobody gets help. 4,000 plus displaced people. Nobody gets help. The guy doesn't even come to say hello.
No.
He goes to Ukraine. We then had people chanting death to America in the streets, yet the borders remain completely wide open. Everybody went against all of Trump's policies because they said it was racist. Here we go, people. Oh, they said he did a horrible job on COVID, but yet he banned China from flying here and several other select countries that had high results of COVID. Oh, you're racist for doing that. But then he did a bad job because you said that he didn't manage the COVID pandemic properly. But yet when the medical professionals were telling him to go ahead and instill upon us the vaccine, he didn't mandate. He didn't force us to take it. You know why? Because he didn't trust those people, even though they were pay grade above him when it came to going to college, having the knowledge and the professionalism, and dealing with their own specific job duty and title. So he can't say no to the professional that went to school for 8 or 12 years. But what he could do is say, no, I'm not going to mandate it. Who mandates it? Biden. I get flyers in the mail for my 4 kids that say, hey, take this shot. We'll give you $150 per shot. I could have made $1,000 by getting my family vaccinated. Didn't do it. You know why? Because it doesn't work. Everybody that I know that got vaccinated got COVID. Oh, but it lessens it. No, it doesn't. It's a lie. It's a scam. Gas has never been below $3 a gallon since this dude taken office. 3, 4, it's been 5 sometimes. I'm paying $500 a month for just electric in the summer. Just electric. Can't wait to see what my gas bill is this month. Coming up now in the winter months here in Ohio. Food costs upwards of $3,000 a month for a family of 6. That is if you have a birthday or a holiday in the mix. Otherwise, it's $2,500 a month. That's with shopping choicely, smartly at Aldi's, Walmart, and then mixing it in with the choice of your meats and certain things that I'd like to still continue to eat. Lobster, filet mignon, whatever. $2,500 a month minimal, people. We have 8 members of Congress that are terrorists, that support Hamas. 8 on the Democratic side. 8 of them. We have people that are just chanting in our streets, death to America. Oh, it's okay. Let's kick out the veterans. Let's open up these homeless shelters that had Americans. Let's bring them in here. When are you going to get a clue? When are you going to wake up? When it's too late? I want to know.
Hello, my friend.
How's it going, Charlie?
Fantastic.
Good.
It's hard to watch him because, frankly, when we go through really bad times, it doesn't take long. Our minds automatically try and block out the bad things that happened. And a lot of people, la, 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 don't want to hear it, don't want to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
So they forget stuff like that. They forget what just happened to all of us over the past 4 years. And now we're like, oh, everything's going to be good because Trump won. Think it's going to be that easy? You don't think you're going to have to sacrifice for other people's very stupid decisions to put horrifically flawed and awful people with zero character into positions of tremendous power? And they have their way with us for almost 4 years. You don't think there's going to be consequences of those actions? Of course there are.
Yeah.
And for Trump to all of a sudden go, boom, okay, everything's good again. Woo, excellent. We don't have to do anything. We can go back to not thinking. We can go back to actually believing that the NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt is telling us the truth. We can go back. Everything will be normal again. Remember during the COVID shutdown, how many times you hear people say, "I can't wait to get back to normal."
Yeah, absolutely. It's so crazy how we as Americans will just forget things so easily. I mean, think about all the people that forget the January 6th prisoners that are still in prison to this day. They're still rounding people up. People forget about that.
Patrick
Uh,
Whale
you know,
in the Sacramento area where I live is the last Californian to be sentenced. And as far as I know, if it isn't this week, it's the first of next week, literally being sent to prison for 6 months. You know what he did while he was there? He
he
was
got a
there
private
on
tour.
January 6th. He was there at the Capitol building. He saw our president saying, "Go peacefully and patriotically, let your voices be heard." He was there.
Yeah,
And he told stories. I had him on the air just a few weeks ago, and he told the stories about Capitol police officers, uniformed people, literally moving barriers and doing this. Come
yeah,
in, come in, come in. So he did. No
yeah.
vandalism, no screaming, no hollering, nothing looking around. Wow, I can't believe I'm here. And then somebody else, not uniformed, said, "I don't think we're supposed to be in here. We're leaving."
Yeah.
He's going to
Well,
6 months in prison for that.
and it just came out, what was it, last week? I think on Thursday or Friday, that the FBI had informants there. How many years have they told us
They admitted
for
to
the
what?
last
What
four
was it?
years?
Did
Oh,
they say
there was no
26?
FBI
Yeah.
involvement. There was no
Yeah. Yeah,
FBI
exactly.
involvement. No, there was no agents there. There was no agents. And then
Right.
finally they say, oh well, actually, yeah, we did have agents there on January 6th. How many times do the American people need to be lied to before we actually wake up and realize that, like you said, it's not going to be just that easy just to get our country back. It's not going to be as easy as getting Trump in to get our country back. It's going to take a whole lot more over the next 4 years with Trump. We need to help him as much as we can and expose a lot of the corruption and do whatever we can to help him out.
My own fellow podcasters aren't even really talking about this stuff anymore. Oh, people don't want to talk about COVID anymore. Oh, people are done with talking about January 6th. You decided that, did you? You coward. You coward.
Yeah.
We have to keep talking about this kind of stuff. And if I get down to only 2 people watching the show, so be it. I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop. And if I
Yeah.
have to keep reminding everyone, but I know that that's not this audience. Those are not the people who watch this show. They know exactly what this is all about and why it's so important for alternative media to continue sounding that alarm, because no one else in the media will.
Well,
So,
and it's so crazy. We call it alternative media, but really it's becoming more mainstream media.
isn't that the truth?
The mainstream media, CNN, MSNBC, even Fox News, that's becoming more alternative because people want to listen to the podcast. People want to listen to people like Charlie Kirk, or they want to listen to a podcast network like the Daily Wire. Those are just a few that I enjoy listening to.
Mhm.
They don't want to listen to CNN or MSNBC anymore. They're tired of the mainstream because they know that they're just getting lied to consistently.
Unfortunately, over half the population, I think, still gets their information from that,
Yeah.
from the mainstream stuff, from the legacy stuff. Right up until their dying day, I'm not going to give up CBS News until they pry it from my cold dead fingers. I don't know, how do you battle against that? We don't. We just keep. This is why I started off the whole show by stressing we got to find our people. We got to find our people. I found my
Absolutely.
people when I was at that rally, that statewide
Yeah.
rally, and we all wound up in Paso Robles. Those were my people, and I was proud of them, and I was just so happy to even be there. And that's where I met you. And at the time you were running for office, what were you running for? You were 19. What were you running for?
19, I was running for a school board here in Paso Robles. It was something that really intrigued me. It still does. I'm still, obviously I didn't win the election.
I
I
don't know that
we
that's obvious though.
Yeah,
I haven't heard
well,
anything about what happened.
I shouldn't say obviously. Here locally it is, but I didn't win, and it was mostly because, well, there were a couple things, but a lot of it was because of my age, because I was 19 at the time.
As
A
far
lot
as
of
I'm
people,
concerned, that puts you even closer to the people that I want you to go in and rescue from these
uh,
communists.
yeah,
You just went through it. Were you
yeah,
public educated?
yeah,
You were.
absolutely. Went to public school my whole life growing up, going to school. But a lot of people just didn't think that a 19, 20-year-old had the experience to be on a school board. And I you have to kind of take it with a grain of salt and kind of move on, and that's exactly what I'm
Who
doing. I'm
who did
still
they put
involved,
in
and
your place? Who did they put in instead of you, if you don't mind me asking?
so I was running against an incumbent. He was the current president, but his name's Nathan Williams. He's a retired firefighter, but he had been on the board for 4 years, so this was his first reelection. So he was on the board already. He did have some experience. I do that in quotation marks, just because there was a lot of talk about experience. What is experience? Just in this election locally. Um,
I don't think
so
there's more
my
experience than
age was a
somebody.
big thing. My
I don't
age
think
was a big thing,
they're.
not winning.
Yeah.
For voters, they just didn't see how I could win being 19. And then there was also actually some lawfare against me in this election. That I was turned into the district attorney's office, and there was a supposed investigation into me for my residency. Somebody didn't like that I was living where I was living. I had just started renting a place from a lady, um, and so I moved out of my parents' house. I was renting a room from a lady, and I had done it all right in that June July timeframe, and the deadline was in August to file paperwork. So I had moved, changed all my voter registration, filed my paperwork, and I did that all right before the deadline. And somebody filed a complaint with the district attorney and said he's not actually living where he's saying he's living, and you need to investigate him and his residency. Well, it was all completely made up. I was totally living where I said I was living. Um, and the lady that filed the complaint is a well-known liberal activist in our area, and she's been gunning after me since I was a senior in high school. Since I did some stuff with the school board and protested the mask mandate at our school, she's been gunning after me, trying to say all the bad things she could about me since then. But she tipped one of the local papers, and they were running stories about me, saying that I was committing uh, voter fraud and that I could go to prison, and that they shouldn't vote for a felon for the school board. Sounds a little familiar, doesn't it, Charlie?
It does.
Sounds
That's
like,
what I'm thinking. That's
yeah,
exactly what I'm thinking.
sounds a little familiar, but yeah, so I think that had a little bit to do with it too. They kind of swayed public opinion on me, trying to say that I was a felon, and that they couldn't vote for me because I was going to go to prison because I was committing voter fraud. Um, I just, I was running for a local school board office, and the things that they were doing to me, you would have thought that I was running for Senate or something. I mean, all these scandals they were coming out with, they're just trying everything that they could possibly do to make me look bad, to slander me. So
They know, there's a reason why they target children. They know that if they can possess their thoughts and their minds, you can flip an entire nation in just a
yeah,
generation.
yeah,
So that's why they're so hell bent on polluting the minds of the kids that they're supposed to be
yeah,
teaching. I had no
yeah,
idea that was going on in your area, because I know it's a fairly conservative area. At least I thought it
yeah,
was.
yeah. And they've gerrymandered the areas for the school board seats. So we have a few conservative seats, with a lot of conservative people in their area, and then we have more liberal seats. It's it's just really crazy. I thought for sure that the conservatives would come out this election and support me and my race and other conservatives and other races, and it just didn't turn out that way,
Well,
unfortunately.
that's my next question. Did the Republican Party in your area get behind you?
They did. Our Republican parties, they've been very good to me personally. They've been very good to other candidates that were running for school board, and other local offices. It helps that I've kind of been around for the last 6 years now. I've been volunteering with the Republican Party. I go to meetings all the time, so they know me, and they know that I'm a good conservative candidate, and they wanted to support me and help me any way they could. So I was fortunate enough to have quite a bit of support from the Republican Party in the area.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Mr. Williams, your opponent, what do you think of him? Where's his allegiance lie? Is he on the conservative side, or is he like fully woke, retired firefighter, spent all those years in the union, and I'm all about government control kind of guy?
I'll tell you, he doesn't stand for anything. So anything. um, he has prided himself on being a moderate on the board.
I don't
But
want
with
moderates on the board.
that being said, he votes with the other liberals on the board every time, and he'll vote for liberal agendas every single time.
Do you have porn in your school libraries?
Oh
Because
yeah,
that's what it is.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're parents have brought it up in school board meetings, and they've said we don't want these books, and they say, well, there's nothing we can do about it. Those are they're books, and we have to allow the books in the libraries. And
We do. Why do we have to allow porn in children's libraries in our schools? What's their justification?
We absolutely don't. But they're the thing with Paso specifically, and I'm sure other school districts are like this. Our school district is absolutely terrified of being sued by anybody. So, for example, you've heard my story about the mask protest, and I told that story at the Trump rally.
Well, for those who weren't there, those who don't know,
yeah, quick little story. When I was a senior in high school, it was in the height of the mask mandates in California. Newsom still had his mask mandate in California for all students and schools. So the conservative club at Paso Robles High School, I was the president. We decided that we were going to stage a protest against the masks, and we went into school that one day in February, I believe it was, and we said we're not wearing masks, we're not putting them on, and they sent us all to a room, and we spent all day there. Long story short, the board got it on their agenda for the next week's school board meeting, and that next week the board voted 5-2, majority of 5, that there was going to be no more mask mandate at Paso Robles High School for students. And that was a week before Gavin Newsom lifted his mask mandate for the state. So we were the first school in the county to have mask choice in schools before Gavin Newsom lifted his mandate. It was a huge win for the students in the area, a huge win for the conservatives in the area that really just wanted to have their choice, and
that's one
choice
thing, Mr. Williams. I'm sure Mr. Williams kept bringing that up and kept pushing that out. Look what I did. Look what I did. Look what I did.
Well, it's funny. He did bring it up, and I had to push him on it because he was one of 2 of the dissenting votes. He voted no against letting the masks come off.
Really?
So So there was two board members, and it was funny. What the other board member that voted no with him was actually running this year in the election. He had left the board, somebody else ran, and then he came back this year, and that's a whole nother story that I'm not going to get into because it wasn't my race, it's not my story, but they both voted to keep the masks on, and we pressed him on it. But I was on an interview with him, on a radio interview, and he said, "Oh yeah, we did so good. We got rid of the masks while I was the president, or while I was on the board, whatever it was." And I told him, I said, "Nathan, you voted no against that. You can't be a champion for getting rid of the masks. You voted no. I was there. I was at the meeting. I spoke." And he goes, "Oh yeah, but I was still on the board, and we passed it together as a whole, as a board." So he and there's been plenty of other things that he's tried to take credit for. One of the big things that I really hit him on was transparency. That was a big thing in my race that I was running for, is transparency within the district. Because a huge problem that Paso has is, it seems that there's a lot of behind closed doors deals, backroom deals, if you
Yep.
will,
Oh, yeah.
and the public doesn't get to see them. So I pressed him on the issue. I said, we need to have more questions being asked in these board meetings so the public can hear the answers to these questions.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "Well, I can't do that. I have to run the meeting as the president, so I ask all of my questions after the meeting or in emails." And I said, "Nathan, if you ask all your questions in the meetings, how are we going to get the answers as community members? The questions that you're asking as a board member are the same questions that we as constituents want to hear. So we want to get those answers." And he said, "Well, I'm not gonna have time to ask all the questions, so I'm gonna ask them in closed doors, behind in back rooms." I said, "Oh, okay. So I see how you feel about transparency, and how you feel
Right.
about the voters."
Right. That's the importance of school boards, and I think that people have ignored for so long, including our own fellow conservatives, who oh, you're just running for school board? What do you mean just?
Yeah,
That as far as I'm concerned, those are the most important races. We have
absolutely.
a little voice to decide who's going to be controlling our school districts. These are vitally important races.
Absolutely. And well, it's like you brought up, there's porn in the libraries. There's all of this transgender nonsense that they're pushing on the student. And it's getting really bad, Charlie. And I mean, I've seen these students, I know students personally that are being transed in schools. There's a lot of teachers that are kind of helping them out with it, counselors. They kind of try to brush it off as, "Oh, it's not happening, it's not a big deal," but it's happening, and it's bad. It's really, really bad. So
a lot of people
one of the things
they'll fall back on. They'll say, "Well, there's a lot of good teachers. There's a whole lot of really good teachers." No. Those really good teachers were fired because they wouldn't take the shot. Those really good people were fired because they wouldn't fall in line. They were fired. They were laid off. They were replaced by people who will do everything that. And this is coming from the administration of these school districts, not the school boards.
Yeah,
The school
absolutely.
boards are being cut out of the picture because that's the only voice we have left to be able to have a say and a sway on how our children are being educated are these school boards. And they don't like it. They don't want that control. They want to be able to do anything and everything that they want to do to educate your children to adopt the lifestyle and the way of thinking, which is very anti-God. Very anti-God, very anti anything having to do with. I mean, they don't even do the pledge. When you were in school, were they still doing the Pledge of Allegiance?
So it's funny. My freshman year, I actually got into it with. You could say that I was a troublemaker in high school because I was such a hardcore conservative, and I wanted to make sure that everything was being done correctly. And so my freshman year, there was a teacher, and they would do video announcements in the morning. Excuse me. And she would actually, the Pledge of Allegiance was in those video announcements in the morning. She would actually go out of her way to skip over the Pledge of Allegiance and then go through all the rest of the video announcements for the morning. So she would skip the pledge in the morning, and she wouldn't let us do it. So finally, one morning, I showed up and I brought an American flag in my backpack. And before she got to skip it, I held it up and we all said the pledge in class. And then I put it back and we went on with the announcements and did whatever we were going to do. And she started playing the pledge after that. But I think it was teacher by teacher. Some teachers would do it, some teachers wouldn't do it, until they finally started doing it over the intercom. And that started happening about my senior year. They brought that back, started to do it over the loudspeaker, and everybody was doing it every day. So in the beginning it was a little shaky. We weren't doing it. And then they kind of caught on and decided that they might get in trouble if they didn't, and they started doing it. But there's some teachers that don't even have American flags in their classrooms.
No, but they'll have the trans flag. They'll
Oh
have the
yeah,
homosexual
absolutely,
pride flag.
absolutely. And that was a big issue too when I was in high school. There was a whole incident where somebody stole one of the pride flags, and they took it to the bathroom and flushed it down the toilet. And then there was a whole issue of, oh my gosh, trans people are being bullied. Oh, we need to protect them.
Uh-huh.
And our superintendent at the time passed a flag policy and said, well, if you're going to have a flag, it can't be, if you're going to have a trans flag or a pride flag, it can't be any bigger than the American flag. So it can't be any bigger than
That's
2
weak.
by 2.
How about
Oh
just
yeah.
saying that there's only two flags that can be in our classrooms, and that's the state of California and the United States of America, period.
And that is exactly what our school board right now, in the next couple months or so, they're going to bring that back because it's been an issue for about a year now, almost 2 years. And they want to bring it back. And there's certain members, and they want to say exactly that. There's two flags. If you're going to have any flags in the classroom, it's going to be the American flag and the state flag, and that is it. Bottom line. You can't have any other flags. And I even said when I was running for school board, I was asked multiple times, well, what's your flag? What would be your flag policy? And I said exactly that, because I said, if you're going to have the pride flag, you have to allow a thin blue line flag, or a don't tread on me flag, or whatever it may be. Or if you're going to allow a don't tread on me flag or a thin blue line, you have to allow a Black Lives Matter flag, right? Because you can't just say rules for me but not for thee, or rules for thee but not for me, whatever that saying goes. It has to go both ways. And the way that it was said, the way this flag policy was set, it didn't go both ways. It favored the pride flag, which is completely ridiculous.
It's
You know,
insane. It is a flag celebrating a sexual lifestyle, which does not
yeah,
belong in public education, as far as I'm
yeah.
concerned.
Well, and
That's what
not
parents,
only that, but it's such a small majority of students.
minority. Yeah,
Yeah, minority. Did I say majority? I meant minority.
yeah.
Um, yeah, it's getting so crazy in schools right now. I'm glad that I'm not in school anymore, but I really want to do everything that I can to help the next generation coming into schools, because I have nieces and nephews that are going to be going into the public school system, and I'm concerned for them. I mean, I'm really scared. I don't even want to send my future kids to public school the way that it's looking right now,
Right.
because it's just getting so out of hand. It it's just scary is the only word that I can really come up with to
The
describe it.
oddest thing to me is these school districts, they think more about federal dollars than they do what they're getting from local taxes. And
Yeah,
it's all about butts in the seats.
yeah,
Every student that isn't there that particular day, they don't get the federal money they're supposed to be getting, which is why I hate the Department of Education and all that. I
yeah,
want to, I hope, I pray President Trump dismantles and gets rid of it.
yeah,
There needs to be local control, state control, and not a federal oversight telling you and giving my tax dollars
yeah,
to school districts based on whether the kids show up or not is just crazy to me. But people are pulling their kids out of public education and they're homeschooling or they're finding a way to put them into private schools or these what they call the PEAs, the private education associations
yeah,
are
yeah,
putting together. That's what a lot of these churches are doing. Thank God.
yeah,
And so you think that these school districts and these administrators who rely on all that money because they make a 200 something $1,000 salary
hmm,
for promoting their communist ideals, which is really what it is: state control,
yeah,
federal control. They're losing people from the education system. They're losing students. They're losing these federal dollars because their numbers are diminishing. People are finding
yeah,
alternative ways to educate their children. You think that that would prompt them to take a more middle of the road kind of stance just for the money, but this is how hell bent they are. Their government is the religion, or their religion is the government. Rather, that's their
yeah,
god.
yeah,
Wouldn't you think that they would want to be more centrist in their education policies just so they can protect the money that they're getting? But they don't seem to. That doesn't even seem to matter to them. It's the oddest thing, Hunter.
Well, you would think, especially looking at this last election, at the 2024 election, the transgender issue, especially, was a losing issue for Democrats. I mean, there were Democrats that were saying, I don't know about this transgender thing and trans and the kids. That's kind of crazy. I don't know if I agree with that. And and as California especially seems to be doubling down on it. They don't care that it's a
I
losing
know.
issue. They're doubling down on it
I
and
know.
doing
It's
it even
weird.
more.
It's really weird.
Yeah.
It's like they're cutting off their nose to spite their face.
Yeah.
But people like you running for school boards you're my heroes. I just love that you did that. Um, how many others coming up behind you though are going to champion those kind of causes? You actually elicited change with the whole Pledge of Allegiance thing, but all we got to do is get Hunter out, and nobody else is going to have the guts to step up
Right.
like that. So we're going to go back to not doing it anymore and getting people's focus off of God and country, God, family, country, God,
Yeah.
family, country. We don't want that in our education system. Are there anybody else in line taking your place, or is there anybody
Well,
else?
when I was at the high school, we had, like I mentioned, we were in the conservative club. It was started when it started by a friend of mine when he was a sophomore, so it was going strong by the time I was a freshman, and then we went really strong all the way through until I was a senior. And when my senior year, we had a strong group of freshmen, sophomore, juniors, and I was really, really excited because I knew that they were going to kind of be able to take that torch and keep going and really stay involved. And unfortunately, it just kind of dwindled out. I don't know what happened. I don't
Right.
know.
That's what I
I,
was afraid of because that's their attitude. We'll just wait them out.
yeah, it
We'll just
just
wait.
it dwindled out, and they haven't started back up. And I've had a hard time trying to find even people that are my age, even 19, 20-year olds, 21-year olds. Um, I have a hard time even getting people like that involved. Uh, I try to drag people to things. I tried to drag people to that Trump rally, the Trump event. I just couldn't do it. It's like, I don't know what it is, but, uh, Republicans especially, they kind of, I think they kind of get in that mindset of, well, especially in California, well, it's California. What are we going to do? We're not going to make a difference. It's a blue state anyway. Who cares? And to me, that's just a crappy mindset to have.
I agree.
It, it's like you said, find your people. How many people were at that Trump rally in June or July in the summer? I mean, there was probably 1,000 people, a couple thousand people there, maybe. I mean, there was a lot of people. We found our people at that Trump rally here in California, and there's a lot more Republicans. I'm sure we can find them and get together and make something happen.
As we saw in the last election, the 2024 election,
Yeah.
we saw California shift red like it hasn't been for decades.
Yeah.
But yet, you're a student championing this cause. Where were the parents?
It's like I said, just the Republicans are lazy. I hate to say it, but Republicans are just very, very lazy. And unless they're being absolutely threatened, unless they're being directly threatened by the other side, they're not going to step up and do anything. And I think a lot of Republicans see it. Even at the schools, I talk to older people that don't have kids in school anymore. Maybe they have grandkids, but they don't have kids. And they go, well, I don't have a dog in the fight. I don't have any kids in school.
Right.
What does it matter?
What does it matter? They're shaping an entire generation. That's what it matters.
And that's exactly sad. My answer. Yeah, it's very sad. I think Republicans in this state are starting to give up. I'm not giving up anytime soon. I've said before, I'm not going anywhere. I'm gonna fight for this state because I think this state has a whole lot to build up from. But I think a lot of Republicans specifically are just lazy in this state and they don't want to do anything.
And in your area, you're surrounded by a sea of Democrats, and they are dumb. They continue doing these things that are there's this blind allegiance to anything and anyone with a D after their name. It just happened up here in NorCal, Bay Area, San Francisco, where they reelected the slug named John Garamendi, who's had a lifetime of sucking off the public. He is 79 years old. 79. Oh. And he was just earlier this year diagnosed with a blood cancer.
Oh, jeez.
And these morons in the Bay Area reelected him. Stunning to me. Absolutely stunning. I mean, Dianne Feinstein died in office, for heaven's sake.
Yeah.
And these people and their blind allegiance to a political party that is running us all off the cliff is just astounding to me. I don't get it. But as I played in the very beginning, that one young man saying, yeah, I was a Democrat, but here's why I'm not anymore. And here's why I voted for Trump. And I did it again, is I hope getting traction. But he wasn't even in California. I don't see a lot of it in California. I mean, I saw him come out in the election. I made this comment just yesterday that I was wearing this Trump hat all day. And my question was last night when I went on this thing I call the Godcast, how come I don't see anybody wearing that now? I saw a lot of people wearing Trump stuff and MAGA stuff, your hat, for example, before the election. But now after the election, I don't see anybody wearing any of it. Like, what happened? What do we? Oh, we won, so we don't have to keep supporting. We don't have to take any slings and arrows from people who hate us merely because we think we should, and there is a possibility of making America great again. So they don't wear the stuff anymore. It's really odd.
I still wear this one. My girlfriend and I went out and we were out looking at Christmas lights over on the coast. They have a big thing, and we both wore our MAGA hats. And I was thinking for sure we were going to get some boos or FUs or whatever it may be. I thought we were going to catch some flack from it, but we got nothing but compliments.
Yeah, me too. And I
Everybody,
was doing the same thing. Went to this one area that's
yeah,
got some great
yeah,
Christmas lights, and we were walking along the road and everything, and I kept having people go, "I like your hat."
yeah,
And you know who was telling me I like your hat? Young people, high
yeah,
school aged people were telling me, "I like your hat." I said, "Thanks, buddy. I like it too." Now, why don't you wear one?
yeah, exactly. You know, I'm glad you brought that up. The high schoolers, complimenting you. I will say, while it is hard to get young people involved to do things, run for office, volunteer, whatever it is, I've noticed, especially in the 2024 election, young people are fired up for Trump. I mean, they were really, really fired up for Trump and really wanted him to win. Um, obviously it's because they knew if Kamala won, they were,
If
and if
Kamala
Trump,
won,
obviously they'll be able to afford something when Trump gets in. But
hopefully.
uh, I definitely noticed that young people were fired up for Trump and really came out to support him. Wearing the hat or going Trump, 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 or whatever it was. It's just hard to get them to volunteer, to knock doors, to run for office, even. But they are fired up about it.
Well, that's good. You got beat up a lot. I hope it doesn't discourage you. Are you going to try again, or what are your plans?
I plan on it. I plan on running again. Obviously, it was running for office is a stressful thing. I was stressed, but I did have a ton of fun doing it. Talking to people, making phone calls, getting out the vote. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. So whether I'm running for school board again in the next couple years, or whether I'm, running for another local office or whatever it is, I plan on running. I'm going to stay involved as much as I can
Good.
because I really do enjoy it. So
You don't have to say where, but what is your day job? What do you do? Because I know
I do construction.
you took
I
today
work.
you took today off just so you could be on my show, and I
I
really
sure did,
appreciate
and I'm fortunate enough. I work with my family, so we're general contractors. So I just kind of told them. I said, "Hey, this is what I'm doing today. I'm going on this show, and I need the day off so I can do it." And they said, "All right, yep, go ahead." So, um,
Well, please, please
I'm
give
for.
your family my thanks for
I sure
letting that
will. Yeah,
happen.
absolutely.
Sure appreciate it, and everybody else, I'm quite sure appreciates it as well. How do we follow you? How do we find you? How do we support what you're doing, or at least keep in touch so that we can next time you run for something, you'll
Yeah,
have more people. You have a bigger base supporting you, even if we're not in
I'm
your
on.
area.
Right. Yeah, I'm on Facebook. Um, Hunter Brees is my handle. You can find me there. I think it's a private account, so I'll have to accept follow requests. But I'm pretty good. I'm on there every day and approving things. And I also had a page for my campaign. It was Hunter Brees for the Paso Robles School Board. That's a public account. Anybody can go on there and check it out, see what I posted. I'll probably kind of keep that active, keep posting things in the next coming years if I get back into it. And then I'm also on Instagram. I like to post a lot of fun things on Instagram, just on my stories, kind of bashing um, liberals and I have a little bit of fun on there. So
Good.
you can find me on Instagram at Hunter Brees too. I'm on there as Hunter Brees. So
Spelled Breese, Brees.
correct.
And man, you're an extraordinary gentleman. You really are,
Thank
and
you.
I want to see you do well. I want to see you thrive. You've got to be. I'm not kidding when I say he is surrounded by leftists. Everything they seem to flock to the coast, and whether it's the East Coast or the West Coast,
Yeah.
they all seem to flock to the coast, and you're very close to it there.
Yeah.
So I know you've got an even more of an uphill battle than most. So I really appreciate you, and I thank you so much for taking the time to be on Do Not Talk.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on, Charlie. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, and we'll do it again. We'll keep in touch.
Absolutely.
Oh, what's going on? All right,
Yeah.
partner. Talk to you soon.
All right.
You want to help this show too? You can through Venmo.com/DoNotTalk. I sure would appreciate the help. I know times are tough. I know we're still under the Biden disastrous economy and money is tight. I get it. So even if you can just help with $20, you'd be helping this show stay on the air and cover costs, because there's costs associated with doing any kind of podcast. You have to pay the platforms that you're running the show. You have to pay the I happen to use Restream. You gotta pay that. There's also StreamYard, things like that you can put out to different. It all costs money. So it's Venmo.com/DoNotTalk, because this is my ministry. This is it. And I thank you, Father, for this opportunity. And please bless Hunter and keep him safe, keep his family safe. Bless the business that he and his family are operating, and lift them up. Please help them. Please encourage them. Keep them strong and keep them safe. In your name, King Jesus, Christ Yeshua. Amen and amen. May God bless you and keep you. May God bless America. But most importantly, America, bless God.